tough act to follow, but I will do my best. Hi! I am currently who I think is the eldest son of the department. Joke lang, I think RP Alejandro is older than I am. But hi, I'm Stephen Zagala, currently a 5th-year student of the LCSP. I'm from 5AB, as mentioned a while ago. And Ma'am Luisa actually reached out to me to read a few poems in response to our beautiful, wonderful gallery here. If you have time, both today and in the future, I'd really, really recommend you guys take some time to go around the office, chat with our profs if they're not busy, and check out the art. It's great. It's amazing. So the first poem that I'm going to read today is actually inspired by, I guess, a question that I had once looking at Eternal Garden by Father Jason B. Knowing that Father Jason is a Catholic Jesuit priest made me instantly ask the question, so sino kasali sa garden? Because for us Catholics, we know, I guess who among us here are Catholics, I guess. We are very familiar with the story of Genesis of creation, the garden from which Adam and Eve were both kicked out of. And that was, I guess, my biggest bridge to understanding what Eternal Garden was about. And because of that, I remembered a poem that also, I guess, took into the question of who is inside, who is outside of this garden. But this time, it's who is inside the bar that was formerly known as Walrus and who is outside. So this is a poem that I wrote that was inspired by, I guess, my feeling of isolation, of loneliness, of turning a year older. And it happened outside of Walrus Katipunan. So halata city boy ako. So a lot of the things that I write and the things that I will read here today will actually be very much inspired by our urban landscape here in Metro Manila. I guess I'm guilty of compartmentalizing both my academic and creative lives together because my thesis was about urban studies and Philippine Lit. Actually, it was, if Ma'am Deirdre's was Jessica Hagedorn, I wrote about Luis Katipak, his short stories and his representations of various cities here in Metro Manila. And now, I guess in my poetry, that kind of reflects in, at least in this one, it's who's inside, who's outside. And funnily enough, the title of this poem is Inside, In/Outside. In parentheses, I don't know about you. Here it goes. They never said turning a year older would be this hollow. All I hold in my hands is the spinning world inside. In Filipino philosophy, they call it loob, the universe of the self. Narcissus ferries the Pasig River, wading through the excess. Wasted yet not wanted. Manuscript with jagged edge, guitar strings snap. 100 barely tasted glasses of spirit, shaken and broken. When they float to the surface, are they still inside the water? Or reaching out to it? Where are you now? I thought you were inside, but now I'm out of ideas. The air holds the taste of our whispers as if ready to punch, only for the grains of words to fall through the cracks. Crawling first, then all at once. A level dance floor holds nothing consecrated. This is my body bumping to electronica, which will be given up for your viewing pleasure. Take this picture in memory of me. Keep it in my mind or in your gallery, but never out of your mouth. A single tear floods the Shomai house, already closed. The room floods still, but silence surfaces. Hello, bro, hello. You are outside. If I loop you in my necktie and pull you closer, will the air around your neck linger for a little longer for me to steal a breath? Around the bar, a force field arises. Bust a move, shatter a glass, break a heart. I am indestructible inside and everyone else will merely watch. Everywhere the eyes land, the walls come up. Glass stained to obfuscate view and conjoin the separate. Why can't I find you inside this text? Kanina pa kitang hinihintay and everything makes me just feel so left out. Migrating trucks and their rattles, the droning song, streetlights, the bumbling bodies blackened. Can you hear me? For you, for this music and dance, I'll move outside. Wait for me. This is poetry, the appropriation and approximation of being within or without. If these walls were any thinner, I would be splayed out on the road. Balls off the beaten path of last night's stumbling trail courtesy of wasted youths. patiently waiting for the end. Philosophizing without shifting eyes is merely floating in saturated Manila Bay. Hello, Sunday afternoon. Hello, bro! Kita mo na ba ako? Sometimes, I wonder how fixated my eyes must be on Katipunan's back alleys for the light to finally shine upon what is inside. How much more insight can you get? Escape constitutes the contractual two-step from within to a second within. There is no without. Dial tone reaching at the time of each ring. Clasped hands grasp sand. Ringing water and imagined answers approaching from the finite theoretical inside. Hello, bro! Nasaan ka na ba? I'm inside. Where are you? Sa loob. I'm inside too. Outside friends, but inside too. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That's the end of the first poem. Thank you, everybody. Actually had a second one. This is my first time reading this poem out loud. So thanks y'all for sticking around. And we've actually got Sister
MJ
afterwards, so stick around for that. But I've actually got the next poem, which I revised actually in response to George Samboya's Pacifico and Sea on Fire. And Sea on Fire. So I actually submitted this poem to the Ateneo Heights Writers Workshop for their 30th iteration of the workshop. And it was accepted. Pretty cool. And I guess during the revision process with my mentor, he was giving me comments and I guess providing some more insight on the minutiae of what could be added as well as the grand necessary revisions for the poem itself. And I remembered Pacifico. I thought about how George Songkuyo was, again, a man at sea, a dude whose job, whose entire, I guess, career, it was to be on a boat. And how that necessitated seeing the sea every day. Its vast expanse, how some days the water, you could see how deep the water was, and some days you couldn't see beyond the surface. How some days the water just looked all the same. And how some days you could see each of its colors. Like you can see in the painting over there. That's why it's very important that you guys also get to go around the gallery a little bit later. But I digress. And that got me, I guess, thinking about how I view something that's very close to me, something that's very much where I live. If Jawar at that point lived at sea, I lived in the city. I have all my life. And some days I find myself thinking of it kind of in the same way. Some days you can identify where the buildings are from, if this building is actually, wow, that's reminiscent of Makati and all its, the urban destruction of Makati via capitalism. Or, wow, this is from wartime in Escolta, World War II, the great city of Manila. And some days everything just blurs into one. I just have to get from here to there. I just have to get from point A to point B. The city is the same. Some days it's like that, some days the city buildings are different. And that kind of reminded me of Pacifico. So this poem of mine its revision process was actually inspired in part by Pacifico. And I will read it very quickly. Let me get to it. Yeah, so this poem is called Distancia. If you're familiar with Ang Bandang Shirley, I actually reference their songs in this poem, but it's not the song Distancia. It's the song Favorite, which chorus goes, "You are here, this is my favorite place." Distancia. Astigmatism blurs the world by sharpening its lines. Stars crash on the hood of jeepneys. A man walks into the train headed for Katipunan and ends up in Alabang. One misclicked key destroys one life. You are here. I often joke about new glasses, near blindness, looking cool in a pair of rose gold sunnies that might not even have lenses. You meet me with slaps. At night, you lie on your bed and I sit up at my work table, and screens squeeze us towards one another as close as mechanically possible, so long as our eyes are open. You turn your head to signal your mother's arrival. I roll down my sleeves. The red circle lining the screen's edge rolls on. YouTube is temporary. Seeing is forever. This is my favorite place. Plain walls could be Escolta, Cubao could be Paris, trains to Padre Faura, or a limousine ride with a clearer view. So long as we are together, holding these dreams contiguous in our imaginations, we transcend the lines. ask you how you navigate PTEX, and you compare it to clockwork. Watch their hands, follow the signs, and never stop running, all the way till Alabang Zapote ends. I have not said anything, and you feel so much. Rush hour lines in Anonas are temporary. Unmoving distance is forever. Also, stop carrying that Shopify Jansport bag of yours. What's gonna happen? You'll fall again? Guadalupe is Katipunan. The platform at Araneta could be Burnham Park. South Mall Cinema could be the back row of Recto. Looking down from green-tinted windows, the roads ask me a question, or rather, the asphalt asks me a question which I ask myself back. Do the definition of lines kill the imagination at certain distances, ultimately telling us exactly where we are at a certain point in time? I've always been afraid of falling off of ledges. Or the scene lines break them, telling them that no, I know you are there, I just won't follow you. There is no such thing as smoothness on a moving G-liner, because the roads are littered with rhetorical questions and bad decisions. Occasionally, there is asphalt. Don't know why poems always complicate so quickly. The foot of your bed is De La Rosa, Makati this time, where we pick up a 24 chicken order. My seat at the dining table is the bed on which we rested. Socket on the table is the portal that bridges us to. Trains are lines, screen is presence, time is space. I've always loved the view. I think of you and I'm already there. The LRT1 begs to differ. The driver bringing us farther and farther away until we are, at last, one again. Me in Doroteo Jose, you in Ninoy Aquino. I never want to figure out what place you'll have to be in until I can't see you. Malate is Koreatown, carousel stops are shut down thrift stores in Anonas. The reek of Pedro Hill in this train car is Poblacion, land of the rising DJ. Sleep once again evades me. What's new? Time is temporary, space is forever. You ask me if I need to be picked up from the EDSA carousel, I'm already behind you. Zooming out, blurring the lines, rendering the image a haze tells me we are nothing more than beside each other. Two hands on an already warm LRT2 pole. There is no line on the road that is not already broken, no streak of paint that has not already lost so much of itself that its reflection is no more than disjointed fluorescent rays. Makati is temporary, Escolta is forever. I cannot tell you this because I do not know how exactly I should put it. Isn't it amazing that with enough distance, we can figure out how far we are exactly with the time it takes for me to get to you? It will be a dozen rush hour lines, but that will be enough. It's always been like this anyways. I can tell exactly how far you are from me because you are right beside me. You are not a shape, at least not one that I can name. Shapes are temporary, names are forever. When the crowds form a line along EDSA, the distance becomes even more pronounced, the place even more temporary. I will be at home, but I'll see you soon. Don't wait for me to be beside you, because from there I can feel just how far you are. Makati Cinema Square could be Alabang, could be Katipunan, could be an empty train station, could be time, could be space. These lines are my favorite place, but not as much as the bus, where the crowds shape our names with broken reflections. Together is temporary. Distinction is forever. Thanks, everyone.